Let's start with a brutal truth that nobody wants to admit. If you look around your life today and realize you have no friends, there is a very high chance that you are not the problem. In a world obsessed with social networks and follower counts, we are conditioned to believe that solitude is a sickness. We think that if you are alone, you must be broken, antisocial, or unlikable. But psychology suggests something far more complex, and frankly far more interesting. You aren't necessarily failing at social connection. You might just be operating on a frequency that most people cannot detect. Today, we are combining the deepest psychological insights to reveal why certain people end up isolated, not because they are weak, but because they possess traits that the modern world finds intimidating. Here is part 1, the curse of clarity. The first and perhaps most terrifying reason you find yourself alone is a trait psychologists call hypersocial perception. Most people walk through life accepting social interactions at face value. Someone smiles, they smile back. Someone tells a story, they listen. But you see through people like glass. You don't just hear what people say, you hear what they mean. You detect the fake laugh at an unfunny joke. You sense the performative kindness that is really just social currency. You notice the micro-expressions that reveal envy disguised as a compliment. This isn't just intuition, it is a high-definition scan of human behavior. And while this is a superpower, it is also a social curse. Because once you see the puppet strings, you physically cannot unsee them. This leads to a profound psychological barrier. You have developed an allergy to inauthenticity. Most friendships are built on a simple social contract, mutual delusion. To fit in, people dilute their personalities. They nod along to opinions they don't agree with. They laugh at things they don't find funny. This is called social conformity, and it is the glue that holds most groups together. But for you, that glue doesn't stick. You value truth over belonging. You would rather sit in absolute silence than engage in small talk that feels hollow. You refuse to clap for a performance you know is fake. The great philosopher Marcus Aurelius once said, "Authenticity is the path to virtue." But he didn't mention that it is a lonely path. When you refuse to wear a mask, you automatically filter out everyone who is wearing one. And here is the tragedy of this trait. Because you don't play the game, society labels you. They interpret your observation as judgment. They interpret your silence as arrogance. They interpret your distance as disinterest. People don't avoid you because you are mean. They avoid you because you make them feel seen. And most people do not want to be seen. They want to be admired. There is a massive difference. You aren't pushing people away. You are simply guarding your energy against connections that require you to be someone you are not. You are like a top chef who refuses to cook with rotten ingredients. Your kitchen is empty. But your standards remain untouched, but staying true to yourself comes with a cost. When you strip away the fake connections, what is left? Often it is just you and the silence. But what happens to the human brain when this silence lasts too long? What happens when your independence turns into a fortress that no one can breach? In the next part, we will dive into the dark neuroscience of isolation and the trap of overanalysis. If part 1 was about how you see the world, part 2 is about how your brain protects you from it, and in doing so, accidentally traps you. When you spend a significant amount of time alone, your brain does not just go idle. It shifts into a state of hypervigilant self-monitoring. Think of your mind as a 24/7 surveillance system. For most people, a conversation is just a conversation. For you, it is a crime scene investigation. You don't just talk, you analyze. You scrutinize that 3-second pause before they laughed. You replay the tone of their voice for 3 days after the event. You write a mental dissertation on why they used a period instead of an exclamation point in their text message. Psychology calls this overanalysis paralysis. You are so busy dissecting the interaction to ensure you are safe from rejection that you forget to actually be in the interaction. Here is the dark side of this intelligence. You might think you are being careful, strategic, or just observant, but to the person sitting across from you, this internal work is invisible. What is visible is the tension. When you are constantly scanning for threats, judgment, or signs of boredom, you cannot relax. And because human communication is largely nonverbal, that tension radiates off you like heat. People feel it. They sense a wall. They feel like they are being interviewed rather than befriended. They interpret your caution as coldness. They interpret your thinking face as a judging face, so they stop trying, not because they don't like you, but because connecting with you feels like work. They walk away confused, wondering how someone so dependable can feel so distant. You aren't pushing them away with your hands, you are pushing them away with your anxiety. Furthermore, prolonged isolation creates a dangerous echo chamber. In your mind, when external conversation disappears, internal conversation becomes deafening. As mentioned in the psychology of isolation, the voice in your head grows more authoritative because it is the only voice you hear consistently. It becomes the judge, jury, and prosecutor of every social misstep. If a friend cancels plans, a normal brain thinks, "They must be busy." Your brain thinks, "They finally realized I am boring." This is a cognitive distortion. Without friends to provide a reality check, to tell you that you are overreacting, your thoughts spiral. You begin to create elaborate fantasies about how people perceive you, often assuming the worst. You reject yourself before they even get the chance to. Finally, there is the concept of social rust. Like a muscle, empathy and social flow atrophy when not used. The longer you stay in this fortress, the more foreign social interaction feels. Small talk begins to feel mechanical. You second-guess your timing. You feel like you are trying to remember how to ride a bicycle while everyone else is racing in the Tour de France. This awkwardness makes you retreat further into your fortress, reinforcing the belief that you are just not good with people. But you aren't bad with people. You are just out of practice and over-prepared. But this psychological fortress doesn't just affect your relationships, it physically alters your reality. In the next part, we will explore the invisible ache, how loneliness changes your perception of time, your physical health, and creates a specific kind of pain that no medicine can cure. We often think of loneliness as just a feeling, a fleeting emotion like sadness or boredom. But science tells us a much darker story. If you have walked this path for a long time, you know that the silence isn't just quiet, it is heavy. It settles in your chest. Neuroscience has discovered that the brain of a socially isolated person structurally changes. When you go too long without social bonds, your brain begins to interpret isolation as a biological threat. Here is the terrifying part. Brain scans show that social exclusion triggers the exact same neural regions associated with physical pain. When you feel hurt by loneliness, you aren't using a metaphor. To your nervous system, the pain of being invisible is indistinguishable from the pain of a physical injury. Your heart rate changes. Your sleep becomes lighter, fragmented, as if you are sleeping in the wild, waiting for a predator. Your body enters a chronic state of low-level, fight or flight, scanning for danger in places where there is none. You are physically exhausting yourself just by existing alone. Then there is the way isolation warps your reality, specifically your perception of time. Have you noticed how time feels different for you than for others? For people with active social lives, time is anchored by shared events, a dinner on Friday, a wedding next month, a coffee date on Tuesday. These are social markers that give time structure and speed. But when you have no friends, time loses its rhythm. Weekends don't feel like a break. They feel like a void. They stretch endlessly. A Sunday afternoon can feel longer than an entire work week. Psychologists have found that without shared memories to anchor the past, your days blur together. You might struggle to remember what you did last month, not because your memory is bad, but because nothing emotionally significant happened to bookmark the time. You are living in a continuous loop of the present moment, and while spiritual gurus seek this state, when it is forced upon you by isolation, it doesn't feel like peace. It feels like being stuck in a waiting room for a life that hasn't started yet. This leads to the most painful sensation of all, the feeling of invisibility. It is the specific ache of having good news and realizing there is no one to tell. It is the silence of your phone that hasn't buzzed with a genuine "How are you?" in weeks. It is the realization that if you disappeared for a while, most people wouldn't notice until much later. This creates a phantom limb sensation. Just as an amputee feels an arm that isn't there, you feel the ache for a connection that doesn't exist. You crave to be known, to be mirrored, to be understood without explanation. But, and here is the twist, you have learned to survive without it. You have become so self-sufficient that you have accidentally locked the door from the inside. This brings us to the greatest paradox of your personality. Why do you, the person who craves connection the most, also seem to be the one who needs it the least? In the next part, we will uncover the emotional paradox and the concept of emotional self-reliance. Here lies the deepest paradox of your existence. You likely believe that being strong, independent, and low maintenance makes you a good friend. You think that by not burdening others with your problems, you are being noble. Psychology suggests the exact opposite. You suffer from extreme emotional self-reliance. When you have a problem, you solve it. When you are sad, you regulate it internally. When you are hurt, you hide it. On paper, this looks like strength, but in the economy of friendship, it is a disaster. Human connection relies on a simple formula: mutual need. Someone vents, you listen. You struggle, they reassure, but you don't participate in this economy. You are so self-contained that there is no door for anyone to enter your life. When you never show weakness, never ask for help, and never let people feel needed, they subconsciously start to feel useless around you. They drift away, not because they dislike you, but because there is no space for them to matter. You aren't pushing them away, you are just so complete that you render them obsolete. This extends to how you express love. Psychologists often observe a trait in loners called alexithymia, a difficulty in identifying or expressing emotions in real time. It's not that you don't care, you care deeply. But your mind understands logic better than warmth. You show love through action, not words. You are the person who will drive 3 hours to fix a friend's flat tire at 3:00 a.m. without complaint. That is profound loyalty, but most people don't just want to be helped. They want to be felt. They are searching for emotional resonance. They want to know that their joy is your joy, their pain is your pain. When they come to you for sympathy and you give them a solution instead, they feel disconnected. They leave wondering how someone so reliable can feel so distant. And finally, because you have no one to process these emotions with daily, you develop a habit of emotional hoarding. You save up stories, jokes, frustrations, and dreams. You carry them around like heavy stones in a backpack. This creates a terrifying fear. The fear of being too much. You know that if you opened the dam, years of unexpressed thoughts would come flooding out. You worry that if you truly showed yourself, you would overwhelm anyone who tried to get close. So you keep the dam closed. You edit yourself down. You stay silent. You starve the connection to save it, not realizing that you are killing it in the process. So is this the end of the story? Are you destined to be a high-functioning ghost? Absolutely not. Content 1 taught us about growth, and Content 4 taught us about the awakening. In the final part, we will flip the script. We will see why this path, as painful as it is, might actually be a necessary stage for your evolution. So where does this leave us? Are you destined to walk this path alone forever? No, but you are destined to walk it differently than the crowd. The final and most crucial psychological shift is understanding the difference between loneliness and solitude. Loneliness is the pain of being alone. Solitude is the glory of being alone. Content 1 taught us that a lack of friends is often a sign of selectivity, not failure. Think of it this way: you are like a master chef. You would rather have an empty kitchen than fill it with rotten ingredients. You don't seek friendship just to fill a void or kill time. You seek substance. In a world where people accept any company just to avoid facing themselves, your refusal to settle is not a weakness. It is a form of supreme self-respect. You have set a price on your energy, and you refuse to lower it just to make a sale. You must reframe your entire history of isolation. As we learned in Content 4, solitude was never punishment. It was preparation. Look at the most remarkable people in history: philosophers, inventors, creators. Almost all of them went through a winter of solitude. This time you have spent alone wasn't wasted. It was an incubation period. While others were distracted by drama and shallow socializing, you were building an entire universe inside your mind. You were developing self-awareness, emotional intelligence, and a depth of character that cannot be taught in a crowd. You have been climbing a mountain while others remained in the valley, and yes, the air is thinner up here, and there are fewer people, but the view is entirely different. So stop asking what is wrong with me, and start asking where are the people who can match me. You don't need more friends. You need better friends. You are looking for the rare few who value truth over comfort, silence over noise, and loyalty over convenience. And the beautiful truth is, they exist. They are out there, likely feeling the exact same isolation you are feeling right now. They are the other high-frequency individuals waiting for a signal. So if you recognize yourself in this video, lift your head up. You are not broken. You are simply in the middle of your becoming. Your depth is not a flaw. Your sensitivity is not a defect. Your standards are not too high. The world hasn't forgotten you. It is simply waiting for you to realize your own value so you can stop begging for attention and start attracting alignment. Walk gently with yourself. Embrace your solitude. And remember, it is better to walk alone in the right direction than to follow the herd off a cliff. Thank you for watching. If this touched your soul, you are exactly who belongs here. So, after watching this, what's your take? Be sure to leave a comment down below.